Hi students, this is Mrs. Laybourne and this is section 5.5, Equations of Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. Non-vertical lines that are parallel in the same plane have the same slope and different y-intercepts. Why do we say, or why did I include in that statement in bold print, non-vertical lines? Well, if you remember, vertical lines have an undefined slope. So see if you can now write the answer to why do we say non-vertical lines when we give this definition for parallel lines. Secondly, why do we include the phrase in the same plane? Well, if you think of the floor in our classroom as a plane, as if it would extend in two directions forever, but it would have no thickness to it. And another plane in the room we could think of as the ceiling. So I could have a line drawn in the ceiling and a line drawn in the floor, and they wouldn't necessarily have to have the same slope because they're in different planes, but yet those two lines will not have any points in common. So we want to exclude that type of situation and only think about lines in the same plane. Now, another concept that you will study quite a bit in geometry next year is the idea of the converse of a statement. So if I take the converse of the statement above that's in bold print, I would say non-vertical lines in the same plane that have the same slope and different y-intercepts are parallel. Do you see the difference between the original sentence that was in bold print and its converse? See if you can just put a brief sentence or a few words explaining how the original sentence, the one in bold print, is different from the converse. Okay, now we can go on and talk about vertical lines in the same plane. Well, they are always parallel because they all have an undefined slope. And for the same reason, all horizontal lines in the same plane are parallel. They all have a slope of 0, and they would cross the y-axis at different points, so they would have different y-intercepts. Okay, let me see if I can move my screen. There it goes. I'd like you to try this problem then. Write the equation of the line that passes through 2, -3, and is parallel to the line y equals 3/2 x plus 8. When you're done, we will share answers in class. So just make sure that you've clearly written your answer as an equation so that you are able to discuss it with us when we come to class the next time. Okay, perpendicular lines are two lines in the same plane that intersect to form a right angle. Now, unless we know a lot about angles or we have a really good tool to measure an angle, it's hard sometimes when we are graphing lines to know whether or not they form a right angle. So we often use this definition instead. If two non-vertical lines in the same plane are perpendicular, then their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So again, we have this idea of two non-vertical lines. And the reason we have that, again, is because if one of the lines is a vertical line, then it has an undefined slope. So it's hard for us to think about taking the opposite reciprocal of something that is undefined. Now, see if you can write the converse of this statement. So again, we were looking at non-vertical lines that were perpendicular and telling something about their slope. See how you would have to reword the sentence so that it would be a converse. Okay, moving on. Any vertical line is perpendicular to any horizontal line in the same plane. We can't talk about their slopes being opposite reciprocals because all horizontal lines have a zero slope and the vertical lines have an undefined slope. So it's just stated as a fact that if they are lines in the same plane, any vertical line and any horizontal line would be perpendicular. So the last question you need to do is this last example, to write an equation of a line through the point -4, -2, and it needs to be perpendicular to the line given by this equation. Notice that the equation's given to you in standard form, so I would suggest that you rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form, or you determine the intercepts for the line represented by this equation, and then calculate the slope. And then you should be nearly finished. So just a few things that you have to do regarding these notes, and then you should be hopefully done for the evening. I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.